So pretty much anytime a chiropractor talks about return on investment, they are talking about money. And that's typically how I talk about it too. But the other day I heard somebody talk about return on investment in a different way, and it got me thinking there are actually 5 ways that just off the top of my head I can think about that are really ways to consider return on investment. So we're going to talk about that on this episode of the Rocket Chiro podcast. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jerry. I'm a former chiropractor. I help chiropractors now with websites and local search. I help new chiropractors get started, stuck chiropractors get unstuck, and I host this little podcast. If you want to work together, if you want me to look at your website and local search, potentially help you there, you can go to rocketchiro.com and request a free website and SEO review. If you want to go beyond the podcast, get some additional business and marketing help, especially if you're a new chiropractor or if you've been out for a little while and you're feeling a little bit stuck and overwhelmed with running a business, check out my Next Step program. It's a really great way to get some additional information. One of the things I started doing recently, this is also something that my website clients can access, because if you're a website or SEO client, you also have access to Next Step. I started doing a Q&A. I don't know if it's something I'm going to do forever. I don't know if I'm going to expand upon it, but as of the last couple of months, I've been recording questions and things that have come up with other clients and throughout the course of the month, and just recording those and posting those in Next Step, just sort of an extra value, something that's kind of helps the content stay fresh and just the conversation sticks around stuff that's been going on currently. So all that can be found at rocketchiro.com. And if you're currently a Next Step member, you can check that out if you haven't checked that out yet. All right. So what I heard the other day, my wife and I have been looking at cars, and at some point here in the next, 6 months or so, we're probably going to get a different car. I'm very much a researcher. Like, I like to dig in. I like to research. I like to check things out. I don't like to go into a situation like that, spend a bunch of money and have it be without eyes wide open. I like to know what I'm doing and know what the landscape is. I ran across this guy that has a business where he does the negotiation for you. He buys cars on your behalf. And I was watching some of his videos. He has a bunch of videos on YouTube, and I thought it was interesting. It was an interesting business model. And I have a good friend of mine who's really good at negotiating car deals and stuff. And so I was actually thinking of him when I was watching it. But then this guy made a comment. He said that, because my first thought was, you hire this guy because he can get you a better deal than you can get on your own. So, you pay him $1,000, which is obviously not cheap, but if he can save you $5,000 or $10,000 or something like that above and beyond what you would be able to do, that's a good return on investment. That's immediately how I started thinking about it. But this guy made a comment that he said, a lot of my clients don't hire me because I'm going to save them that much more money than what they could do on their own. They hire me because I remove the stress from the buying process. And I thought, that means something. Like, it really does mean something. And actually, when he said that, the first thing that came to my mind is my website clients. Like, there's no reason that any chiropractor that is currently in practice can't just build their own website. There's platforms like Wix, which I use all the time and I love. There's WordPress, there's Squarespace, there's AI junk now that'll just barf out a website for you. There's no reason you can't do it yourself. So why would someone hire me to do it? And why would someone pay me every month to do their website, to manage their website? And part of it is that. Part of it is I do a better job than what they're going to get in a lot of places, and I feel pretty strongly about that. But the other part of it is they just don't want to hassle with it. They just don't want to stress about it. And I would say the vast majority of my website clients fall into that category. They know I'm going to do a good job and they just want me to handle it. They don't want to mess with it. Now, do they expect to get a good return on investment financially? Yes, but that's not the only element. So let's talk about these 5 things that are just ways to think about return on investment that I think are just really healthy for us as chiropractic business owners. So the first one we're going to talk about is the most obvious one, and that's money. You have to make money. If you're a small business owner, you got to make money. If you're any human being, you have to make money, unless you're independently wealthy or your family's rich. I don't know. Somehow, some way, my life has always been a life where you have to make money. And so that's going to be the main way we're going to think about return on investment. And that's ultimately the most important one, because if you don't have your head above water as a small business owner, you really can't take advantage of these other things. because you can't afford to spend money to save yourself some time, which is the one we're going to talk about next. You can't afford to spend money to save yourself time if you're not going to necessarily get a good financial return on that investment if you don't have the money to spend. So hopefully that makes sense. So the one we primarily think about that's money is going to be the one that's the kingpin for all of this. If you're not making money as a chiropractor, you can't really start investing. You can't spend money to get a different investment other than money, at least not as a primary thing. So hopefully all that makes sense. So money is the most important one. Obviously, that's the easiest one. Next one is time. Sometimes people spend money because it saves them time. The first thing that came to mind when I thought about this was my uncle. And I remember years ago, I'm a DIY person. It's part of the reason I know how to do websites is because I started doing my own website when I was a chiropractor. And it's part of the reason I know how to do SEO. It's because I started doing my own. So it's like a lot of my DIY habits have led to a career now. But I also work on my own car. Like I fix my own house. Like I'm a pretty handy guy. And I remember talking to my uncle years ago, and he had something going on with his vehicle, and I was talking to him about fixing it. And he just made the comment, I don't have time for that. And my uncle owns his own business. He owns a marina in Minnesota, and he just doesn't have time to mess with his car. Would it have saved him money? Yeah. Does he know how to do it? Probably. Does he have the capability of doing it? I'm sure he does. But he just didn't want to spend the time doing it. And my neighbor's that way. Like I saw my neighbor in the grocery store just the other day, which is funny because it's the first time I've ever seen him in the grocery store. And my immediate thought was, I didn't know you came out amongst the commoners because this guy has a lot more money than I do. And he pays everyone to do everything for him because he doesn't want to take the time to do it. And so I was actually kind of shocked to see him at the grocery store. I figured he probably had somebody else that did that for him. So, and maybe that's the case. Maybe this was a rare exception to the rule. But that's a return on investment for a lot of people is I'm just going to spend this money because I don't want to take the time to do it. And that could be websites. That could be other stuff that has to be done or needs to be done as a chiropractor. I feel this way about taxes, accounting, things like that. I hire an accountant because one, I wanted to have it done, but two, like, am I smart enough to do my own accounting and taxes? Sure. My dad did his own taxes for years. Very smart guy. My whole adult life, my whole childhood, my dad did his taxes and he did my grandma's taxes and he always did a good job. I don't want to do that. I'm actually really good at math and I don't want to do it. It's a giant pain in the butt. So that's a time thing for me. It's also a stress thing for me. So return on investment, money. Second one, time. Third one is completeness. It's entirely possible that if you don't pay someone to do it, it's not going to get done right, or maybe not at all. This is actually why when I was in practice, I hired someone to answer my phones right away. Like I had a CA before I had patients. Now that I wouldn't advise people to do that. I think the easiest way to get your head above water is to do the micro practice and do everything yourself. Like that's the easiest way to kind of save yourself money, keep your overhead low, and get started where you can like get your head above water. But for me, with my introvert personality, I absolutely hate answering the phone. I've gotten better over the years just because you get used to doing things. The more you do them, it's sort of a familiarity thing. And so I don't have a person answering the phone for me now if I have to talk to a potential client or whatever. But I don't like it. And back when I first graduated chiropractic college and I was in my 20s, I don't think I even would have done it. I think I was so bothered by answering the phone and that element because I wasn't even used to doing it yet that I just would have starved to death before I ever got my head above water. And so for me, I had to spend that money for completeness to actually get it done because it wasn't going to get done otherwise. And so that's a good return on my investment, even though there was 6 months to a year of my practice where my CA was making more money than I was. But I had the opportunity to pay her and I had the opportunity to learn and grow and get to the point where I was making good money because I had her there to do things that weren't going to get done otherwise. So first return on investment is money. Second return on investment is time. Third return on investment is completeness. Fourth return on investment is sanity. It sort of brings us back to the accounting thing. There's some things you pay for just because when you don't pay to have them done, it drives you crazy. Can you do it yourself? Sure. Should you? I don't know. If it makes you crazy, you shouldn't, especially if you have money to pay somebody else to do it. It's like the websites. Can you do your own website? Sure. Should you? Most chiropractors shouldn't. Unless you're sick like me and you enjoy tinkering with them, that would be different. But if you don't like tinkering with it, it's just going to be a huge hassle. And it's going to stress you out. It's like accounting. Like my accountant years ago when I was in practice tried to teach me how to use, QuickBooks. And I hated doing that so much. I thought I was going to have an aneurysm. And it's not because I'm not smart enough to do it. I just hate it. I hate doing it. This is why I paid her. It's like, I don't want to do this. I want to give you all this stuff and you do it. And she was like, well, yeah, but it's going to cost you whatever it was. It was some ridiculously low amount of money considering I was going to have an aneurysm in the hospital. And I was like, why are we arguing over whatever it was, $100 or $50? It's like, just you do it and I'll pay you to do it. I hate this. And so a possible return on investment for you could be your sanity, decreasing your stress. This is the guy I talked about originally, where it's like, why would you pay him to buy a car for you when you could do it yourself and potentially get a similar or same deal? Well, because it's not going to be stressful, because it is stressful when you buy a car. It's stressful when you buy a house. It's stressful when you're in any situation where you feel like you're over your head, or it's just something you don't like doing. So return on investment, number 1, money. Number 2, time. Number 3, completeness. Number 4, sanity. Last one, satisfaction. This one is just sometimes you do something because it makes you feel good. There's no other return on investment. Years ago when I bought a motorcycle, there wasn't a reason. There was no financial gain that I got from that. It wasn't going to save me time because I spent time riding. It did help my sanity, but it was just for satisfaction. I loved it. Such an awesome thing. So much fun. And there are times maybe you buy a car that you really like that maybe you don't need that car. Maybe you buy a piece of equipment in your office, or maybe you buy I don't know, something, a particular sign, there's all kinds of things that you could do where you could spend your money. And the only reason you're doing it is because it brings you satisfaction. Now you have to be really, really, really careful with this last one, because you could fall into a pattern of buying something just because you want it and it feels good to buy it. And the thing you have to understand, if you don't understand this yet, like I know this now in my 40s, I probably understood it less in my 20s. So no matter how awesome something is, and no matter how cool it is to buy something and get something new, it wears off really quick. And then you just have more junk. I heard, I think it was Jerry Seinfeld years ago, he had a bit where he was talking about all of your stuff is in the process of being junkified. And I remember when my grandma went into assisted living, she was in assisted living for maybe a year or so before she passed away. And she moved out of the house that she had been in since my dad was a kid. And my dad and I went to the house to help clean it out. And, you know, the family took things that they wanted from grandma's house. Like grandma took things that she could take into assisted living, but she was really downsizing from a house to a room, you know, so she had to get rid of most of her stuff. And my grandma went through the Depression. She didn't throw anything away. And so we're just pulling things out of this house, and they backed up a dumpster that it was a dumpster the size of a tractor trailer, like a semi truck, outside the house. And my dad and I spent a weekend just taking things out. This was after the family took what they wanted, after my grandma took what she needed, after the auctioneer came and took anything and everything that they could hawk to sell money for, because the auctioneer was going to make money from everything they sold. So they took anything and everything that they thought was valuable that was left over. This was just the junk. And I remember filling up this dumpster, and it just got more and more full, more and more full. And I remember specifically there was a dining room set. My grandma had a really nice dining room set that I ended up with. And then my grandma had this really not as nice. It was just kind of like a cheapie that she used all the time. And the nice one was like for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And the cheap one was the one that we sat at all the time. And I had tons of memories about that table. And I remember throwing that in the trash because it really wasn't worth anything to anybody. But I remember thinking, there was a time where my grandma was really excited about getting that. Like, and as I looked at all this stuff, I remember texting my buddy, and I took a picture of it and I sent it to my buddy. And I said, I just had this reminder that sooner or later, someone's going to back up to your house with a dumpster and throw away your stuff. And it was like, wow. And I'm not a things person. I'm just not. Like, I like nice things. I don't like a lot of things. And so, and having gone through periods of my life that were very, very difficult financially, I learned that my joy and my contentment are not wrapped up in the things that I own, which was a very difficult and a very important lesson for me to learn. So I say all that just to say, just be careful with number 5, because if you start getting in the habit of just spending money purely because it brings you satisfaction, I think you're potentially going to put yourself in a bad spot, just yourself. And then if you have a family, potentially put your family in a bad spot too. But is satisfaction a potential return on investment? Yes, it is. And I think it is something that should be considered, but that's the one you want to be most cautious with. So what are the 5 things? And there could be more. And if you know of one, or you could think of one, I would love to hear it. But I think there are 5 potential returns on investment when you're spending your money. Like, what are you getting in return? And the reality is there's a Venn diagram somewhere where a lot of these things overlap. And some of the things you pay for you're paying for them because it makes you money and it saves you time. You know, it decreases your stress, it makes you money, and it saves you time. Like, it could be all 3 of these. It could be all 5 of these things. But it's money, time, completeness, sanity, satisfaction. And it all starts with money. When you first get started as a chiropractor, keeping your overhead low, really just working hard, like pinching pennies, you know what I mean? Like, don't go buying a new car. Like, don't buy the new house. Don't buy the big office. Like, don't hire a bunch of people. Like, don't do the stupid stuff that's easy to do that might give you satisfaction, but when you have no money coming in, that's a problem. So the number one thing is you got to get some money coming in. But once the money comes in, you can now start looking at return on investment as a much more complete picture. And if you're looking at purely from a money standpoint, maybe it's time to have somebody else do your website. Maybe it's time to have somebody else manage your ads. Maybe it's time to have somebody come in and answer the phones for you, or bring in a technology that you've been hesitant to bring in that would be helpful for you. Maybe it's time to do that. So those are my thoughts about return on investment. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for subscribing. If you know a chiropractor that would benefit from the podcast, I'd love for you to share it. If you'd share this on your socials, that would be super cool. I'd really appreciate it. If you want to work together, reach out to me through Rocket Chiro. I would absolutely love that. I think that's it. I'm done. I'll talk to you on the next episode. See ya.